It's time once again for another VO podcast. Hear news and views inside the world of voiceover from 4 full-time voice actors. 4 guys who are in the trenches every day trying to make it work and sharing their experiences with you. Now here's Alden, Troy, Jake and Charles with another VO podcast.
Hey, howdy, hey, it's another VO podcast. No, I'm sorry, I don't know why I just decided to do that.
That was the worst Southern accent I've ever heard.
I wasn't even necessarily going for a Southern accent. I was just going for something goofy. I mean, like, I don't know.
That was Kentucky Appalachian.
Well, there you go. Appalachia. No, anyway, well, again, guys, goodness. Thanks for tuning in to another VO podcast. I am Jake. I'm here with Charles, Alden, and Troy. I should say they're putting up with me, as you can hear. And we're got Alden back from a sickness. Alden, how you feeling, bud?
Way better, but I still have. You can hear the congestion. I wonder how large our sinus cavity is, but it seems like it should be so small. But yet the amount of snot that comes out of that place is just crazy.
Yeah, volumes.
It's bigger. I think it's bigger on the inside.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you are feeling better. And what'd you say, Charles?
Nothing.
Did you say that's what she said?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I thought about it. I was like, no, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. Then you made him repeat it.
Yeah, I know.
I don't want to meet her if she's saying that. Yeah. Anyway, well, we are glad you're back. Glad you're feeling better, and hope that congestion clears up quickly so you can get back to
it's been frustrating.
Your stuff. Oh, yep. I can imagine, dude. I can imagine. You basically have to miss out on pretty much everything.
Yep.
But we decided to record an episode today, and I think the topic we're going to talk about is niches. Is it niche or niche?
However you'd love
niche.
To say it.
Yeah, niche.
I think I say niche. What's your niche?
Yeah, niche or niche.
Yeah,
niche.
I've heard both.
Niche.
Those are the two.
I have
options.
a nephew and a niche.
Yes, I'm sure you do.
Yeah. Sorry, that's a reference to a Boy Meets World episode. Yeah. Anyway, we've talked about this before, like, you know, knowing your niche in voiceover, and Troy has definitely I've heard him say this in workshops, and he might have even said it on the podcast before. In fact, I'm pretty sure he has. But, you know, if you look at like the last X amount of jobs you booked, let's say 10 to 20 if you want to get really broad, break those down into categories of what type of job they are. And that kind of gives you an idea of where you're booking, or maybe listen to the kind of voice that you're booking the most. And that kind of gives you an idea of what vocal range you are, what vocal style you are. And that can help you determine what to audition for, how to better market yourself, and maybe even brand yourself depending. And Troy, right. I know Troy, Alden, Charles, you guys seem like you're a lot better at branding than I am. I'm just out there. I feel like I sound like every other millennial white dude out there. That's just me, you know. Need a millennial white dude? Well, get in line. You know, that's what it is for me. But I feel
you sound like the other young kids your age in your niche,
right? And it's crazy to be called a kid at 34, but you know, it's the truth, I guess.
Hey, you know what?
But what about you guys? Like, what are things that have you guys evaluated jobs you've booked and go like, oh, I think I'm more kind of this, or I'm more kind of that. Like, let's hear your thoughts of it.
I think that you know, whenever you know, we were kind of chatting about it before we got on the call. Whenever you first start, there's, you know, you think of the thing that you want to do, whether it's, you know, animation or whatever, you know, whether it's whatever. You never really think of, I want to do e-learning. I mean, there might be some people that do that, but you know, for me, it's like, I know now, whenever I see a script, I know that if that one's like made for me, because I know the style I'm going to read it in. You know, and remember, it's the audition, right? So the actual session might be something totally different. Right. But I know where my strengths are whenever I'm reading, and
which is pretty much everything. You're great.
Whenever you start getting ideas about like what niche you want to go into, you really, I think in the beginning, I think we all kind of agree in the beginning, like, don't just go for some niche, like, because
Yeah.
I mean,
You should go
the
for
business is
everything in
going to
the
tell
beginning
you,
and
right?
see where
Your
you
work
land.
is going to tell you
After everything.
what you're getting hired for, what you're getting shortlisted for. And like you said, compile a list, compile it and listen to them and be like, yeah, this is what people, the kinds of auditions that I'm going for. And this is what seems to really get me shortlisted and booked. And once you get a foothold, once you get a little bit of stability, then I think you should go after maybe a different niche, because now you have a little bit of financial stability. You have knowledge stability because you've been coached.
It allows you to branch out.
Yeah, it allows you. But I think if you start too early, like you're just like flailing at, it's like one of those money machines where the money's just blowing through the thing. You just have a hand in there and you're just grasping for stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like without a plan, without any kind of technique or plan, it's like you're just grasping for these things. And you might get one here and there, but it's going to be a much more difficult process without getting some of that foundation built first, I think.
Sure, and a good coach will help you, I think, with that. They'll help keep you in a direction. They can tell you, man, I don't know, that may not be for you. Maybe you ought to concentrate over here. And then on the other hand, after you've done like what Charles is talking about, you've been doing it a while. I like to look back every month and go, what did I book this month? Where was I stronger this month? How many, I always have a handful of commercial spots, whether it's a political thing or a regular commercial, but what is the majority? And then, where did I, and both in quantity of jobs and where did I make better money? I look at both, so I know when I look at the money thing and say I'm booking here and I'm making pretty good money there, but I haven't really coached much with that. So maybe I should turn the volume up on that because it pays better and I'm booking some of it without much coaching. And then when I look at the commercial stuff, then, well, I'm booking, I've coached quite a bit on that and whatever, it is what it is. But when I started, a couple of months ago, I started looking back and it was always video games. I had 2 more video games that month. I had another one this month and I had 3 more, but I've not really coached in that. And, so
something kind of had like a natural fit into, huh?
Yeah, it's just something you fall into. I think if you're you're a kid that grew up with a big, vivid imagination and you watched all these cartoons and you played some video games. And I was one of those kids who a lot of times where we lived, there weren't a lot of other kids around. So I had to use the big imagination, and G.I. Joe and Big Jim and Evel Knievel were all, playing and talking together. And I was doing voices for all of them and, stuff like that. And I think that's what, a lot of us that got a big imagination or, we're that type of a creative type person, we're drawn to that stuff and we like doing it.
Sure.
But yeah, and I think that's part of it. A coach can point you in the right way, but then when you start seeing where you're booking, go coach more in that genre and see if it ups that game for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alden, what about you? Like, what do you feel like your niche, or do you feel like you're still kind of figuring that out?
I'm still figuring it out. I know somewhat what I'm booking, what I get more easily than other jobs. And by the way, just for listeners, niche is not just the voiceover category that you might be in, like just commercial or just animation. There might be inside of that, young millennial voice or,
vocal
Southern
styles and
style.
stuff.
Yeah, it's more than just category. It's more than just your voice type.
Yeah, and it
completely
ties into branding too.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
we'll
it
get there
does.
here in a
It
minute.
does. I get a lot of industrial explainer videos, and it's weird.
Do you do e-learning too?
I do a lot of e-learning.
I feel like
do
those
a lot
kind
of
of go
e-learning.
hand in hand too.
They do, and a lot of my e-learning is in the industrial side of things. So that comes with the deep masculine voice, but also I have all my life I've tried to be very articulate when I talk, and so that articulation kind of lends itself to e-learning really well.
Sure.
Yep.
Where the masculine voice that's doing the
speaking.
truck commercial might be a little more messy in his articulation. So
John Deere.
yeah, exactly. So I just recently did a demo, new professional demo, and for commercial,
Which sounds
and
awesome.
It does.
By the way.
yeah,
really
thank
good.
you. And
Is it on your website yet?
No.
Okay, so we won't send people there just yet.
Yeah.
From being sick, I was dead to the world. I only came to my studio in case of emergency.
Wow.
So to communicate with
class.
somebody says I'm sick, I can't do it this week.
Right.
But yeah, for the demo, working on some of the more rugged sounds, I got the masculine rugged right there, but I had a tendency to over-articulate and make it too clean, too precise, which is not good for commercial, So you have to train that out of my voice.
So what would be
there.
like an example of like deep, rugged voice, but very articulate? Like Darth Vader?
I don't know.
Like he's
I don't know.
super articulate.
Darth Vader, Darth Vader does your safety video for your industrial complex here.
Step 1.
Yes.
Do not drive the forklift unattended.
That's right. Yeah.
First, you need to put on PPEs.
Yeah, he's listen. Every time you see Darth Vader doing a chokehold and lifting the guy up off the floor, we know that he's here to lift people up, not put them down.
Right.
There
Exactly.
you go.
It's encouraging.
He's just not understood, He's
that's right. Exactly. He's a
soul,
And that's, and understanding is a big majority of the battle. And what I mean by that is understanding yourself and knowing yourself. We've talked about that a lot. And knowing your niche, knowing where you fit in is very important. And again, not to say you can't branch out eventually, but why not focus what you're good at to help you get there? Like, build a little bank to help you expand your niche as you go along, but focus on that niche at least you're good at. And a good way to do that is just kind of evaluate the jobs you've booked and whatnot.
I think that's a good point also, Jake. In this business, like, I mean, it's financially driven. Like you got to have the want to do this. You got to have the tenacity, but you got to have the money.
Yeah.
And money. And when you're not making money from it and spending money, and you know what I mean? It's kind of I think that's one of the big stresses about this business is you need some fun. It's like, some people will throw up their hands and be like, well, see, without money, you can't make money. Well, the thing is, we have to be crafty. We have to be clever. And okay, what am I going to cut back on, or what else can I do to?
What are you willing to cut back on?
Yeah, what are you willing to cut back on?
Right,
and then take that little bit, and then invest. Like get a coaching session, get into a workshop, and those little investments will help you get better and help you grow more. And now you have a little bit more money because now you're booking a little bit more. So now, and you know what I mean? And it's just taking that profit and putting it to good use towards your business while you're still 100%. Managing your life outside of voiceover. So I think that's one of the biggest, toughest challenges is the financial side.
You definitely have to. You do have to spend money to make money, but you got to do it wisely.
Yeah.
And you gotta, but you also have to come to a realization: like, are you spending more than you're making in the long run? And then you got to question if you really are doing the right thing. And that can be a tough pill to swallow.
It's tough.
It is tough.
It is tough.
And I mean, like, in our workshop that Charles and I did, we told people, like, look, voiceover is not easy. It's not easy.
We told them right from the get-go.
Right. That's why I think it was one of the first things we said after we did our little intros. We were like, we want you to understand right now that voiceover is not easy. We're gonna tell you what it looks like trying to get in, and we also said, not any one way is the right way, but it's not. There's not going to be any one way that's easy. I mean, I guess the only easy way is if you have some nice benefactor who's like, here, I'll just fund you to do this, and you can spend all the money you want. And there are people that are in situations like that, whether it's from their spouse, whether it's from their family members, whatever. But if you're not one of those lucky few who have that, I mean, like, you really got to think wisely about money, and you got to think wisely about where you put your energy, at least initially, into what auditions and what jobs you're going after.
For sure.
Make sure they're jobs that you do fit into,
Yeah.
Now, we did talk about how, like, finding your niche can help you with branding. And I mean, like, Troy, I mean, like, you right off the bat are the first person I think of when branding, just because you seem to have a good idea about yourself, and you've gone through branding changes since I've known you. You know what I mean?
Yep,
like,
I have.
You kind of took I think Mike Cathcote was the one that said initially, man, you're like the blue collar voice of choice. And that was maybe a couple years ago. And you kind of started with that, rolled with that. But then as you moved along and maybe talked to different people that had a different perspective in branding and marketing and whatnot, you kind of changed gears a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about that and how and do you feel like it's helped you kind of market yourself better. And that way people who run into you, whether it's through your direct marketing, whether it's coming across your website or on your Facebook or anything like that, help people understand who you are a little bit before they actually get to know you.
Yeah, I think what I got worried about was being painted in a corner, because I looked at blue collar one way and other people looked at it a different way. My look at it was, I'm a blue collar. I work hard. I'll do anything I can for my clients. I'll give them 110% always. I'm going to bend over backwards to make things right. And the sound, common guy, hard working guy, whatever. I never looked at that as the Southern sound, because blue collar is everywhere.
Right.
Your steel workers up north are blue collar. They don't sound like me.
Right.
And, but I just looked at it from the hard working perspective, and I was using a caricature, and, some people still do. I don't fault that, but I was told to be your real authentic appearance is what people are after. Where you're from, Nashville. Well, get Nashville into your branding somehow. Tennessee. So I use this Nashville skyline thing in the background of this logo. It becomes more of a what your voice is more than what your niche is when you're talking about your branding and what you portray. So your branding is your sound, it's your personality. And then you pull terms and keywords that match your sound and personality. Then you go pick your colors and what mood you're putting with that. And that was where I went with the website and stuff on part 2. I think, there's always a chance you go through maybe even a third phase, who knows, but as long as it's not blatantly ridiculous, if I came out with something with a spiked haircut and all these crazy orange and red colors, people would be going, what the crap? What is he doing now? But transitioning
Troy's on his own little voyage.
Yeah. But transitioning from blue collar, and I kept, my colors are about the same, and going into just a tagline of, like your favorite pair of jeans, just basically saying I'm just grounded every day. I am what I am, and it's not, I can't fake it. I can't do anything any different. And I had to accept that after going through a year of maybe I need to lose my accent. Maybe I need to do this. Maybe I need to do that.
I remember when you were like, I'm training to lose my accent. I'm trying to get rid of this accent, back before. And it's like, that's you, man.
And we find out so much more often. I mean, we find out pretty much almost every day, or at least every week, that people want us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They want you.
They want the authentic.
Right. They want the authentic. And it's cool if you can drop the accent if you wanted to, like, again, take the time. And this is your opportunity to, branch out a little bit. But your niche is that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, your niche is you being you. So there's nothing wrong with that. But accepting who you are and knowing that, I mean, that's the key.
Accept it.
Right.
That is the key. Accept it and embrace it. Don't try to think I'm not going to book because of it. And you need to think the other way. I want to book everything I can in my wheelhouse because of it, because that's where I'm my most authentic, my most natural. So what it came down to after that was, an audition comes in and it does, it doesn't say no accent or no whatever. It's just Gen Am or whatever. So sure, I can. And what I found is whether I go a little nasally or a little something, it'll eliminate a lot of the stuff. I had one shortlisted a couple of days ago, and I kind of did it as a joke to myself. I said, do this and really, really try to make it Wisconsin-y or whatever, and it did sound authentic because I didn't change the way I approached it. But I just kind of pitched my voice up here just a little bit, and I made sure that the words just came out this way. And it was a construction thing. So it was easy to do that, but that was take 2. And take 1 was just me. And I told them 2 takes. The second one, I'm going to try to drop off as much accent as I can. And I got shortlisted. I don't know for which one, but probably the second one.
Oh, you'll have a chance to ask them whenever they book you.
Yeah. But that's, that's kind of where I'm approaching it now. And when I can knock it down, I'll knock it down, and it's trained my ear to listen for certain words and certain sounds, and it's helping. Even from the Southern perspective, it's helping. So I just think you got to believe in yourself. You got to
100%.
You got to quit trying to be anybody else. And my realization is I may never book anything that you three guys might book. But then again, I might, because I've had casting directors say sometimes when the read is connected, we don't hear anything but the connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That lets you know where you need to be. It's all about what you can do.
Connecting
and it's the connection.
yourself.
Yeah.
I
So
think
that's what I'm trying to do with my brand. Connect with myself. And it took a couple of years.
I think that's a super important point, because what do you have to, if those are the things that casting directors are listening for, they're like, oh, that's connecting. That person really connected with this script. I'm connecting with this person, right? What does that mean as voice actors? What can we do before we send an audition to try to connect to that script as much as we can, right? What kind of picture are we painting? Who are we talking with? Those are the things that are important whenever, you can't just do a cold read and just be like, I connected. And I mean, unless you're awesome, right?
Right. And it's hard to know.
Sometimes
I feel it, sometimes I don't. And I'll say this, and there are some fantastic freaking coaches out there.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is, you may not resonate with one of them. You may have to go to 4 of them for you to connect. And it may, I understand what they're trying to tell me and what they want me to do.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they told me, I couldn't figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So it has taken 3 or 4 different coaches for me to put that in a blender and blend it up and go, this note came from this one, this note from that one. And before I read, I can look at this that is my method and go, this is what so-and-so taught me. That's what so-and-so taught me. And this is what this one taught me. And I blend that together. And now I have a method that quickly I can connect. There's a lot of times I'll read something and I go, I can just tell there's nothing there, and I won't send it. I've just stopped sending them because I heard at VO Atlanta, 80% of auditions do not connect. Man, that's
I believe it.
That's
I believe it.
Well, and it may well be that your niche is the thing you connect to the easiest.
That's exactly it.
Exactly.
If it's a story, that's where I really feel like I'm going to knock it out of the park.
Yeah.
If it's one of those things where it's got lines, and you guys may have seen that audition today, and it was talking about, really need a great actor, really need this and this and this. And it was just like 3-word lines. And I like, when I was doing that, I can't remember what it was.
It wasn't Burger King, was it?
No, it was something
I'm
bigger,
always connected to Burger King.
Bigger.
Yeah, my stomach's very connected to Burger King.
Exactly. But
was it Visa?
Was
it Visa?
I think it was Visa.
I did do that one, yeah.
And when I saw it, I'm like, how do I feel that, And I thought, how will I, and I'm one of those people, if I can't get in the frame to where I feel like I'm immersed in that copy, I don't need to send it in. It's going to sound reedy or it's going to sound stupid. But I listened to the sample and I'm like, that doesn't sound very connected to me either.
It doesn't. You just never know.
They were just saying the words. So
here's what's crazy.
In all fairness, it was a scratch track.
Yeah. Well, here's something crazy. I'm going to be doing a directed session. I'm not going to say the name. You guys know who it is. I'm going to be doing a directed session tomorrow with this huge company. And they sent me it wasn't a scratch. It was an ad that they had put out. And it was an AI voice on there, dude.
Whoa.
Now, it was in a different language. It was in a different language. But it was an AI voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa, dude. But the thing is, I could tell it was an AI voice.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like a super good one.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know, man. It was kind of weird. But Troy, really quick, before I forget, when you were saying, getting pieces from this coach and that coach, I immediately thought of a recipe. Right.
Yeah.
So you get a recipe for cornbread, let's say, and then it's like, okay, well, this is good cornbread. And then there's 7,000 different ways to make cornbread, and you get a little bit from this, and then you're like, ooh, I don't like that part, but that part really sticks with me. So then now you got this kind of like Frankenstein cornbread that's amazing, and it's yours. Now you can call it, Charles's cornbread, whatever the recipe.
This one's too dry. This one's too
Frankenstein
moist.
cornbread.
But this one's just right.
Yeah. But but really, that's what we're doing. We're getting little we're getting little nuggets of knowledge, right? If I'm in a workshop or I'm in a coaching session, as long as I get something
to carry with you.
I can add it in, and I can be like, okay, that's a little piece I'm going to add to the sculpture, and that's an ingredient that I'm going to put in my recipe book, and you go from there.
Your experience, your training, everything that makes up who you are as a voice actor, creates who you are in your niche.
And then in the core of that is yourself.
Yep.
That's
in the
what
core
it all
of it
comes
is yourself.
down to, man.
Yeah.
It all comes down to that. You have to be you in that situation. If it's not you, then it's somebody, you'll hear something about, well, it's somebody or it's somebody this or that. But if you can't immerse yourself into that before you read it and become that story,
you're wasting your time.
You're
wasting everybody's time. You're wasting your own. You're wasting everybody's time.
Yeah. And I'm sure every now and then somebody that didn't connect books, it happens. I get that.
Hey, I book all the time, and I'm not sure if I connect very often. I mean,
you're pretty good, Jake.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you did.
I don't know. Here's the thing.
That spot you shared with us today, that was pretty good too.
He connected me to a hamburger earlier today.
Yeah.
So many people have said that too, but that's besides the point. What I'm getting at is there's times that I say there's a lot of times where I feel like it's hard for me to connect, and I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's me not knowing me or me thinking I need to be one way over the other.
That's probably the second one's probably it.
I think
you know who you are.
It.
I think we always say it's we're our mind is our own worst enemy, and we just we overthink it, and then now it's not. Now it doesn't feel as real because we're trying to do this thing.
Yeah. And there's some days you're just not with it. You just, you're out of sync. Your groove is off, right? Your groove is off.
Shift that over to marketing days. Then
it's hard to connect.
That's exactly right. I've done that. I've had days where I just couldn't tie in. And even with work, and I do some church sermon bumpers and things. And if I'm in an irritated mood or something frustrated has happened, you know what I'm saying? Something comes in the mail and you open it, you're like, why did they send this to me? What the crap is? And you're wound up. It's hard to come down here and settle down and sit down and go, and this week at New Zealand Baptist, so I will a lot of times say
to Joshua 17.
Yeah, right now. So I'll sometimes go outside and do something for a few hours and let all that go where I can refresh. You have to.
You need to.
You can't always be in the moment when you need to be in the moment. You got to get ready to be in the moment. So it's tough. It's tough. There's days.
So we're actually. Oh, go ahead.
I want to just add. I know we only got a couple minutes left, but just to tie onto that, to the marketing part, I think it's very important. It's kind of like a niche almost. It's like don't focus so hard on your marketing and branding and all this stuff before you get the basics down, before you get your coaching, before you get your process, before you understand the business a little bit, before you know what I mean? Because it's going to be the same deal. Do you want to rebrand 17 times and spend all that time and money? Or do you want to maybe rebrand, every couple years or, something like that? You can
subtly do it.
And
tie this into a doctor. A guy in medical school is not going to go out and rent a building and get all of his waiting room furniture and all that ahead of time and hire his nurse and receptionist and all that while he's finishing medical school. No, you finish school, you learn your craft, then you go out and do this and take the baby steps to do it.
And then you do residency. Then you're a resident for 4 years after you become a doctor.
That's where you learn your craft. Is, you take what you were taught, you go out in residency, and we can call it whatever in voiceover, and you
the first 5
learn and build. And a lot of these guys probably come out of school and they're not sure. I know they have to somewhat declare, but they're, some of the guys that are doing ER work and then they're, general practitioners, or whether they become general surgeons or whatever, they may not decide that immediately. They're also going during medical school to figure that out. It's like, I don't really want to do that. I'd rather do this. And they change direction. We can do that as well. And this, just don't worry so much about all this crap in your first few years.
Right.
Learn the basics, get a good coach to teach you. And I still believe in this, and this was taught to me early. start out on the commercial stuff, because you can take that commercial stuff and move it into other areas.
Yeah.
Learning to do good commercial reads and learning to interpret copy, even in e-learning, even in explainers, even in whatever narrations, you can take the basics of that and apply it. So start there and then worry about branching out later. I think that's a good way to go. But again, this is just advice.
Yeah, this is just our opinions.
We're just our opinions. Right. And again, there's
opinions
no wrong,
like
right way to do things,
evidence.
you know? Like there's just, we're just,
everyone has one.
Yeah, exactly.
I have 5.
Well, guys, we are going to make this a quicker episode than normal. I think all of us have got some stuff we got to get to, but we wanted to get in here. We wanted to talk about niches. We wanted to encourage you to take time. If you're not the kind of person that can take time to evaluate, and I don't mean like take an hour and do it. I mean, take some time to evaluate, look at your last, wait till you book X amount of jobs.
Data,
yeah.
Man.
Keep track of most stuff if you can. I mean, like there's things you probably don't need to keep track of, but I mean, like just have a way to go and look back at your last, the last 10 to 20 jobs you booked if you got there. Or if it's not that much yet, 5 to 10 jobs, something like that. I don't want to put that pressure like, I need to book 20 jobs before I can know what my niche is. But I mean, just start looking at what you're booking and take the time to do it. Just like anything that is worth doing, it takes time and effort to put in to make it good and make it great. And you are great and you are enough. And just know that all people want, and I say people, I mean, all casting and all people want mostly is just yourself. So learn how to be yourself, learn how to accept yourself, and you'll find your niche as you go along. Guys, do you have any last little things you want to get in before we get off?
What he said.
Yep. What you said. That was pretty good. Just bring yourself to the table.
Yeah.
Bring yourself to the table in the most natural way that you can.
Troy the chicken. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. If you don't know what your niche is, try everything.
Right.
The market will tell you.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, you should try everything, and then you'll figure out what you're getting good at. And then later on, if you want to branch out, that's the opportunity to do so, like Charles had mentioned earlier. You know what I mean? But don't be afraid
if you'd
to
like
try
to feed my habit, please send those Waffle House gift cards to.
You and Waffle House, Doug.
Hey, it's what he connects with.
Hey,
he connects with Waffle House.
Dude, how awesome would it be if
Troy
just like messaged us one day and he's like, guess who the brand voice for Waffle House is? Oh.
Yeah. Do you ever see a Waffle House?
Better call my lawyers. I got Waffle House.
Yeah.
I don't even think they advertise. They probably don't have to.
Yeah.
They don't have to.
That's probably true.
Because everybody that goes to Waffle House knows about Waffle House.
Yeah. And most people hate it. I'm sorry.
I don't hate it. It's just, but it is what it is.
It's way back. People, it's way back. It's the last resort for a lot of people. And I get that. But up here where I live, there's not a lot of really great places to go.
How did we get from niches to Waffle House?
I don't know. But I like it.
Yeah.
Great
because we're talking scattered, smothered, covered, chunked, and topped, and that's about how your voiceover career goes. So.
Welcome to one of our accountability meetings. Anyway, guys, let's get off of here and let people get onto something else they want to listen to, and let's get Charles off to what he's got to do. The busy guy he is.
Yeah.
So anyway, from me, that's Jake, Troy, Alden, and Charles. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time on another VO podcast.
That's right.
Later, dudes.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of It's Another VO Podcast. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. You can also email us your questions to anothervopodcast@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at Another VO Podcast. See you next time.